everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today I'm doing a fun little booktube tag here that I found from Jess from Honest Fiction. I don't know how many others have done this tag or not. I know that it was just kind of created by her and some friends whenever they were doing like a live show. But I wanted to piggyback off of that. So I will link her channel below in the description so you can go check her out if you don't already know who she is. Her and I have some kind of similar tastes, some not really, but it is the get to know the fantasy romance reader tag, and I thought this was a really neat idea because everybody out there is going to be like, ACOTAR. Well, I'm going to give you some that are not ACOTAR. How about that? Probably some that you're going to fight me on. I will be very honest with you on that. Not really fight, but you know what I mean. Anyway, make sure that you like this video. Make sure that you subscribe. Make sure that you don't miss any of my content. Make sure that you always leave me comments below. I always love to have feedback from my videos and interact with you guys. Also, there is a link in the description below as well if you would like to join my Patreon. There are 2 tiers. You will get exclusive access even if you are the bottom tier, but the top tier will have a lot more. They will get to pick the book club picks that we are going to be reading. They also get to give me books to read where I get to pick them every month. And you know, we just kind of go from there. I get to read with you guys. We get to interact. There will be, for the top tier, a exclusive, you know, live where we kind of recap the book club books, or we'll have just like, you know, a chat once a month, you know, outside of that time frame, you know, and it's just going to be a whole lot of fun. I'm going to add more things on as we go, but right now, let's just start small, shall we? So without further ado, let's get to know the fantasy romance reader. So, first question, and I'm going to try to be super smart. Let's see if I can put the question up here or down here. We'll try. What book got you into fantasy romance? So, I'm going to be very cliche because it is the honest truth. I'm not going to lie to you guys. The book that got me into it was A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas. I was a fantasy reader, but I didn't really read books like this. And then several years ago, one of my friends was like, you need to read A Court of Thorns and Roses, and I gave it a shot. I didn't really like the first book, but she was like, girl, just keep going. So I did, and then here we are. So there's that. So I am going to be very cliche and say A Court of Thorns and Roses, unfortunately, but it is the truth, and I only want to be very honest and transparent with you guys. So let me know below which one got you into fantasy romance. I would love to hear your thoughts on that. The next question: what fantasy romance world would you want to live in? This took a lot of thought for me, and I like my answer. I would live in the Rose Petal Graves series by Olivia Wildenstein because the characters were so good. I love the Native American representation. I feel like it wasn't as much of a hostile world as all the others, but I also loved the Fae in that. I really loved the Native American aspects and that culture and that town that they live in. So that's where I would want to live. If you haven't checked out that series, definitely go watch my video previous to this where I give you some recommendations because I preach about this book series, and it's wonderful. So Rose Petal Graves is where I would live. I just feel like that would be very homey for me. I don't know. That book has stuck with me, and I'm really starting to slowly think that maybe A Court of Thorns and Roses isn't my favorite book of all time anymore. I don't know, guys. I don't know. But the third question is, which romantasy character would you want to marry? Surprisingly, it is not Rhysand, because I feel like Rhysand is taken by millions of women at this point. So it is not Rhysand. Not at all. It's actually Victor from Spellbound. So If you have not watched my video very often, you don't know that I'm a huge Rebecca Garcia fan. But this book in particular, it is a standalone, and so I don't have to worry about keeping to read. But Victor is a guy who comes in to this world, and he's mysterious. You don't know where he came from. He is kind, but you kind of get this feel that he can be not evil, but like, I don't know, broody, very alpha. But he's so exquisite, guys. Like, I love Victor so much. I tell Rebecca that all the time. Like, I could marry Victor and be totally happy with it. So she needs to rewrite the book. And instead of Elle being, you know, the female main character, it needs to be Jen. That's what needs to happen. Because it is just, I love Victor. I love Victor a lot. Okay. Now that I've gotten my, you know, Victor obsession out of the way, why don't you guys go to read Spellbound? Come be on the Victor train with me. Leave me a comment below if you've read Spellbound yet, or if you're going to. Because Victor is yummy, not gonna lie. So, question number 4. Which romantasy creature would you like to become? Now, hear me out. Don't make fun of me. Hear me out first. So, I hate the Zodiac Academy. We're not going to go there. But the way that Pegasus are described in there, I want to be a Pegasus. Especially Xavier's Pegasus, because he's lilac with a rainbow tail and mane. Like, I'm all for that. Let me be a Pegasus, please. That's what I would be. So, the next question. Which fantasy romance character would you kill? I would kill every single character in From Blood and Ash. I will not lie to you. I have this seething hate for From Blood and Ash. I just cannot stand that book. I read, what was it, the first 4 books? I read all of The War of Two Queens. Was that the 4th or 5th book? I don't know. I'm not continuing on. I've already gotten rid. I've unhauled all of Jennifer L. Armentrout. I just cannot handle her anymore. Just can't. So that's who I would kill. On to the next one. Number 6. Which romantasy character would you want to be friends with? I think Callie from the Bargainer series would be so fun to be friends with. She is spunky. She is loyal. She is a whole bundle of emotions. But I feel like her personality and my personality would mesh very well. And I feel like Callie would be a fun friend to hang out with. And if you ever need help or anything, Callie is somebody I'd want to call. So Callie, or Calypso, as her real name is, in the Bargainer series, is definitely who I'd want to be friends with. That's who came to mind at the very beginning. So that's who I'm going to go with. Number 7. What is your fantasy romance weapon of choice? So I'm not good at swords, and I probably would suck at magic. I'm going to want to do like mind control. Like, what is that? The Diamante or whatever power that Rhysand has. Like, I want that. That is what I would like. So mind control would be really, really cool. But I don't want to make people my minions. Like, I don't want followers. Like, I just want what Rhysand has. That's what I want. Okay, so the next one has like 4 different answers. So it says, who is the sexiest fantasy romance character? I could not pick one person. So we're going to go with 4, but there are many others. okay? Many others. So the first one that I have written down is Leo from Blood Mercy. The Hesperine, he is a marshmallow, a cinnamon roll, and I love him. He's so sexy. So Leo from Blood Mercy is not really my first choice. No. He's just the first one I wrote down. The next one is, of course, Rhysand from A Court of Thorns and Roses. I would be lying if he wasn't going to be on that list. But he's definitely up there with a bunch of others. Of course, I have Victor from Spellbound on there because he's so sexy. But the next one is Finn from These Hollow Vows. Finn is delicious. Like, I want to go reread These Twisted Bonds again just for Finn. That's all I want. I want more of Finn. Can Lexi Ryan just do a spinoff of just Finn, please? Because he was great. And then the last one I have written down is, of course, Sebastian from Shadowkissed. I already talked at great length about Shadowkissed, so go check out my video that I posted before this one. Sebastian is very yummy as well. So that's who I think are the sexiest characters. All that I could write down at the moment. We don't want to make this an hour-long video, right? Like the last one. The next one is, and I'm so sorry, guys. I'm so sorry. It says, pick a fantasy romance book to burn. And I hate to say it, but from Blood and Ash, I'm burning you. Like, I can't stand it. So, my cat is being weird. But yes, from Blood and Ash, I can't do. Number 10. What is your favorite fantasy romance book of all time? I cannot pick at all, guys. We're just going to go with all of them that I have mentioned on here. I mean, you know, Rose Petal Graves I mentioned, Spellbound, A Court of Thorns and Roses, Blood Mercy. I mean, any of these that I have written on here, I can't pick which one is my favorite of all time, because part of me would be like, of course, it's ACOTAR, right? But now I'm like, but could it be Rose Petal Graves? So now I don't know. Those are the top two. I will tell you that. Okay, the last question. Best fantasy romance books for new romantasy readers. So I definitely understand if you have never read fantasy romance, if you maybe don't even read a whole lot of fantasy at all, and maybe you're wanting to kind of dabble into it, get, you know, accustomed to it, or maybe you read fantasy romance but your best friend doesn't and you really want her or him to read with you. What books would you suggest for those? And I have about 4 of them here that I think are good choices. First up, you have These Hollow Vows by Lexi Ryan. It is just a duology, but the world building is very fluid and it's very easy to understand the magic. You understand what's going on around you. There really isn't a whole lot of different POVs that you're following. There's not a complex political system or anything like that. So it flows very easy and you're able to stay following along. So someone who's not used to fantasy or anything like that would have a very easy time reading this. So this is one that I would probably suggest to people. I probably would not suggest A Court of Thorns and Roses, because as much as it is a loved book, you have to have an understanding of fantasy and you have to have an understanding of how the world building is and everything, or at least a concept, and have have read a fantasy before you jump into it, because it does get very complex. And somebody who is new to that genre would feel overwhelmed. So these Hollow Vows would definitely be a great choice to tell somebody. Also, Rose Petal Graves would be a great one to suggest to people. It has all the vibes of a fae fantasy romance. It has all the sparks, all everything. But again, the world is very easy to understand. The political system, it's like non-existent. The magic is very easy to comprehend. There's nothing, huge or big or like a whole bunch of POVs or this mass war that's going to happen. It's very easy to understand, but it also gives you the fantasy romance vibes. So somebody who, again, hasn't read anything like that would very easily understand this story, and it would give them kind of a toe in the waters of Sarah J. Maas or Jennifer L. Armentrout or any of those bigger hitting authors. The next one, I would definitely say this is probably more towards the bottom, like someone who's dabbled a little bit, but not a whole lot. I would definitely say the Bargainer series by Laura Thalassa. This is more of an intermediate, not a beginner, because the political system does get a little complex. The world around them gets a little bit, muddied, as I shall say. So it's definitely for someone who has read somewhat of fantasy, or at least a book or two, that would really understand the Bargainer series, but it's not as complex as, the war in A Court of Wings and Ruin, or, what's going on in From Blood and Ash and stuff. Like, it's not that in depth. So they would understand it, and it would still get their toes wet into the fantasy romance genre. The last one I definitely am going to suggest is the Fate of Crowns series by Rebecca Garcia. This is a beginner level type of fantasy romance. It is YA. So you're not going to have like a whole lot of spice in it or anything. The political system, there is one, but it's very like dulled down for a YA audience. So I'm not saying that somebody who's never read fantasy romance needs it kind of dulled down a little bit, but as you know, whenever you get into the bigger hitting books, they do get very complex, and you have a lot of cast of characters that you're following and things like that, whereas this is more simplified, but it gives you that vast world. It gives you that political system. It gives you that. So I would definitely say this is an intermediate choice as well, because it's a step above these Hollow Vows or Rose Petal Graves. It's a step above. So those are the 4 books that I would probably suggest to anybody to get into. And depending on what their tastes are from previous books as they've read, it would be, one of those 4 that I would suggest to them, because all 4 bring a whole different type of story and a whole different type of vibe. So, those are 4. I suggest if you guys haven't read any of those, go check them out. They're actually really, really good. Even for the, advanced fantasy romance readers. So that is the Get to Know the Fantasy Romance Reader tag. I don't know if it's going to be a thing, but I was piggybacking off of it because I really loved the thought about it and the way that they went about everything. So definitely let me know any of your answers below. You can find me on my Instagram on there. I'm not very active as of lately. It's been several months since I've posted anything, but I'm going to try to get active again. And definitely like the video and subscribe, and head on over to my Patreon if you want to tell me what books to read. So that would be great. And until next time, everyone, I hope you have a great day. Bye.